Hey guys, let's talk about Flesh and Blood. The topic that I'm going to talk about today is competitive play for new players, getting into it specifically. I sent out a lot of emails to a lot of the Flesh and Blood community and just kind of asked some questions. I got a lot of that information back, so thank you to everyone that got back to me. I greatly appreciate it. And I really wanted to know kind of what is going on in the community. And one of the big things is Flesh and Blood is struggling for new players to play in a competitive format. A lot of players are feeling like they need the legendary cards to compete on a competitive level, and that's really not the case. Maybe if you want to play top tier, that's the case, but to start playing on a competitive level, you do not need those cards. The three main formats that are in Flesh and Blood competitive play are Sealed, Skirmish, and CC, Classic Constructed. Each one of those levels has a different play style and has a completely different feel on how they are. If you want to get into playing competitively, my first suggestion is to go out and play in Armory events. These are competitive, but not really competitive play to a degree. They still are. There are still cold foils on the line, and people are playing to win. But it's a little bit more of a relaxed competitive play compared to a skirmish, a sealed, or a CC event. I would suggest building a deck, not equipment added, building a deck, making sure it is very playable, very usable, playing it with your friends or even going out to your local events and playing it against other people. I would play with the equipment on, but I would try, if it's not an actual game where you have something on the line like a pack or a cold foil, try not to break that equipment, but keep it in mind so that every time you're drawing hands, you see when that equipment could be used. That way, during the entire length of your game, that you're just playing for fun and playing a little bit to learn, you can see every opportunity that that equipment would become available. That way you don't burn it on turn 1 and realize it would have been way more useful on turn 5. And it lets you see your hands, it lets you see how to play, and it lets you see kind of the gameplay. So my first suggestion is go out to these events, find people that are in your community that are nice and kind, willing to give you commons and, rares that they don't really necessarily need, but will greatly help you out. There's a lot of us out there that are more than willing to donate cards from our collections that are bulk, because there's no need for us not to hoard them. I mean, we want to help new players. A lot of us that have been in the game a long time want to help new players. So go out to your events, take a well-built deck. If you don't even know how to build a deck, just go out to an event, ask, hey, this is the kind of play style and card games I've played before. Even if you haven't played a card game before, say, hey, how do I play? I'm really interested in playing. Most people will let you borrow a deck, play, see what your play style is, advise you on what starter deck to pick up, pick that starter deck up, and start playing these games. This is the best way to get into the game across the board. A lot of people are willing to help in this community. So go ahead and do that. The second thing I would do is if you already kind of have a deck, you already have it built, you already kind of know how your legendaries affect your deck, is to make sure that you go out and play some sealed events, to go out and play some skirmishes. I would go out and play these. Skirmishes is a consistence of Blitz and CC. They kind of flip between both from my understandings. Like I said, I don't go out and play skirmishes. I've gone out to the big events, but skirmishes are way too competitive for me to play at. I've been to one that was Blitz, and it's just not really my style of gameplay. Although I do play competitively with my friends, and a lot of them want me to go play, I just don't like sweating that much at a table trying to win. I like to play for fun. So go out to the events, you'll see what the actual environment is like. If you go to a sealed or you go to a skirmish, you'll get a better understanding of really how intense it is, and maybe that's your jam or maybe it's not. I would suggest going to these events and actually playing. Now, I will be going to the Dallas event that is here when it comes to town next time, because I really want to go to a bigger event and really just to meet communities and network. That's why I'm going, not so much to play competitively, but to network. A lot of times, if you're looking to pick up cards that are legendaries, these are great events to go to because a lot more people are a little bit more willing to flex on trades and prices when they're going to these type of events. Because while they know that they want cards that you may have, and you need cards that they may have, and people are a little bit more flexible. Not everyone, but some people can be. So take that into mind. Also, going to some of these bigger events is it can be where you can pick up cards you need for fairly reasonable, sometimes even trading for them. Now, when you go to a big, huge event, I would suggest going and playing as much as you can. Don't just play tournament-wise, but play against every person that is willing to sit down and play a game with you. Take every deck that you have, play every deck that you have, play every event until you are burnt out playing the game at these events. Because you'll learn so much more than playing at your local shops, playing against people you play against all the time. You will see things that you aren't going to see anywhere else. You'll see people that are like, oh, we're just playing for fun, let me play this Shyana deck, and you'll be like, what the heck is this madness? So go out and play in these events. They are huge, they are fun, they are fantastic, and it is a great way to step into the competitive world and see what it's truly about, rather than trying to go drop $600-700 on one or two decks and try to be competitive just to realize that it's not what you're looking for, or what it is what you're looking for, and that you are willing to drop the $700. If you get to an event and you realize, hey, I want to play on a higher competitive level, I'm okay dropping $700 into these two decks, you then can drop $700 into those two decks, and you will more likely have more options to buy cards at various prices going to one of these big events than just trying to play at your local armory kits. It's the best way to get into the game without dropping the money initially. If you realize you want to play on a competitive level and you don't have the funds, there are plenty of Majestics out there that are way cheaper substitutes than the legendaries. There are many that are cheaper than legendaries that literally do almost the same thing to a very good close second. One of those cards is Arknight Skullcap. Everyone says it's a horrible card, but if you look at really what Arknight Skullcap is, it is the same as the Crown that everyone hypes about with an Arcane Barrier if it's needed. It blocks 1, blocks 2. It's pretty much the same thing as the Crown. These are cards that are only like $50 rather than spending $200. There are way cheaper options out there that are close power level replicas to these cards. Yes, as someone said in one of the videos that I watched, the Crown may be a power level 10 and the Arknight Skullcap is a power level 9. It's not too far off. It's close enough and cheap enough to get you into the game. Those are the big points I wanted to go over. If you guys have any questions about how else to get into competitive play, drop them in the comments. I'll try to get to a video on them as soon as possible. I hope these have been really informative for you guys. I really try my best to sink as much time as I can into them for you and study what I can. But with that being said, I will catch you on the flip side.